Rain slicked the cracked asphalt, headlights carving hard shadows across the deserted road. Marcus Hale sat rigid behind the wheel, the Navy SEAL's calloused hands tightening against the steering wheel as blue and red strobes bled across his windshield. The siren's cut replaced by the crunch of boots on wet gravel. He hadn't been speeding. He hadn't crossed a line, but the cold demand came anyway, sharp against the night. "Step out of the vehicle now." Marcus obeyed, muscles taut, his pulse drumming like a countdown in his ears. The officer's flashlight burned his eyes, rising deliberately from boots to face, lingering there with a sneer. Another cruiser pulled up, doors opening, radios crackling clipped codes he recognized from deployments. Only this time, they were aimed at him. "You think your uniform makes you different?" The officer muttered, low enough to sting but loud enough to be heard. The words hit harder than the rain, harder than the gun he saw glinting in the man's other hand. Marcus raised his palms, chest heaving. His SEAL training told him to calculate angles, distances, wind. But another part of him, older, rawer, was tallying something else. The history written into every black man's fear during a routine stop. Then the first shot cracked. Not a warning. Not restraint. The flash illuminated the badge, the barrel, the hate. Marcus staggered, a burn tearing across his shoulder. Instinct surged. Fight, survive. His hand dropped to his concealed holster. One thought roared louder than the rain, louder than the shouts, louder than the ringing in his ears. They don't know who they just pulled over. The second shot split the night. Marcus's finger brushed cold steel, and the world held its breath. Rain blurred the windshield into streaks of gray. Marcus Hale flicked the wipers, jaw clenched as his headlights cut through the deserted two-lane stretch. He was less than 15 minutes from home when the flash of red and blue lit up behind him. "Damn," he muttered, pulling to the shoulder. The cruiser door opened. Heavy boots splashed onto wet asphalt. Marcus rolled down his window, the humid night air thick with the smell of rain and tar. "License and registration." The officer's voice was clipped, cold. Marcus handed them over without hesitation. "Was I speeding, officer?" The flashlight beam raked across his face, lingering too long. "Step out of the vehicle." He obeyed, palms visible, boots grinding into the gravel shoulder. A second cruiser pulled in behind, siren whooping once before silence pressed down. "You out here this late for a reason?" The first officer's lip curled. "Just heading home," Marcus said evenly. His Navy ID glinted faintly in his wallet, but he kept it tucked away. He'd learned, sometimes that card made things worse. The second officer circled, hand hovering near his holster. "What you got in the car?" "Drugs, weapons?" "Neither," Marcus replied. His throat was dry, his body tense. He could read the choreography. One officer baiting, the other flanking. The first officer stepped closer, rain dripping from his brim. "You think that uniform you wore makes you untouchable?" Marcus's jaw tightened. "I served my country." "Yeah?" The sneer sharpened. "Tonight you serve us." The gun came up, swift, gleaming under streetlight. Marcus's hands froze midair. His SEAL instinct screamed distance, angle, threat. Then crack. The shot ripped through his shoulder, fire exploding across muscle. He staggered back, instinct driving him toward his own holster. Suspect armed. The second officer shouted. Marcus's fingers brushed steel. The night split again with gunfire. Marcus Hale pressed his back against the wet earth, the tang of iron in his mouth. The pain in his shoulder was searing, but training kept him moving. Controlled breath, scan perimeter, identify threats. Rain slid over his face as the shouts grew louder. "Shots fired. Suspect fleeing. Suspect armed." Their words twisted the air. Sharp lies riding radio waves that would soon poison every news channel. Marcus's boots hit gravel. He pushed off, weaving into the tree line beyond the road, his pulse roaring in his ears. Branches tore at his arms. Mud sucked at his steps. Still, he ran. Inside the first cruiser, Officer Breen barked into his radio. "Black male, 6'2", muscular build, shot fired at officers resisting arrest, armed and dangerous." His partner, Lopez, leaned against the hood, smirking through the rain. "Bet the cameras caught him reaching. Open and shut. Doesn't matter what's on the cameras," Breen snapped. "They'll play it how we say." By dawn, Marcus was hunched in the dim living room of Terrence Cole's small apartment. Terrence, a former corpsman who had patched up too many soldiers in dusty outposts overseas, now pressed a towel hard against Marcus's shoulder. "Hold still," Terrence muttered. Hand steady but voice tight. You're lucky it didn't hit the bone. But it's deep. Marcus bit down against the sting. They'll say I shot first. Terrence flicked his eyes to the muted television. Already the morning anchor's voice crawled across the bottom banner. Breaking. Navy veteran shoots at police during routine stop. Marcus's chest tightened. Routine, he repeated under his breath. The word felt like a blade. Back at precinct headquarters, Captain Mills leaned across the table in a closed-door meeting. Around him, Breen Lopez, the union rep and the city's PR officer. The narrative is simple, Mills said, voice hard. Suspect resisted. He was armed. He posed immediate threat. You feared for your lives. That's the story. Stick to it, Breen nodded, jaw flexing. Lopez gave a half smile. The union rep tapped the folder on the table. We've got his record. Decorated, sure. But we spin that. Combat vet, post-traumatic stress, violent tendencies. It'll stick. At Terrence's apartment, Marcus watched the crawl repeat over and over. His own service photo, broad shoulders, dress blues. Medal pinned high, now framed by words, armed suspect at large. They're painting me like I'm the enemy, Marcus said. Voice low, ragged. Terrence knelt beside him. Marcus, you know how this works. You go in now, they bury you. Evidence won't matter. Witnesses won't matter. You'll be another case closed. Marcus's jaw clenched. So I run? You survive, Terrence corrected. Until the truth breaks. A knock rattled the apartment door. Both men froze. Terrence grabbed the pistol from his drawer. Marcus's hand twitched toward his sidearm, but he pulled back, grimacing at the pain. The knock came again. Sharper, heavier. Then a voice. Terrence Cole, open up, police. Terrence's eyes locked on Marcus. Silence stretched. The television buzzed with the low hum of news chatter. Rain pattered faint against the window. Marcus's chest rose and fell. Every muscle ready. Decision time, Terrence whispered. The knock turned into pounding. The press room smelled of stale coffee and wet umbrellas. Dozens of reporters jostled for space, cameras clicking, microphones extended like weapons. On the podium, Police Chief Daniels adjusted his tie, flanked by Breen and Lopez in crisp uniforms. Their faces were set, stoic, rehearsed. Last night, Daniels began, voice heavy with authority. Our officers encountered an armed suspect during a routine traffic stop. The suspect opened fire. Officers discharged their weapons in defense. The suspect fled the scene and remains at large. He is considered dangerous. Flashes burst, blinding white. A reporter shouted, Chief, can you confirm the suspect's identity? Daniels gave a curt nod. Marcus Hale, 34, former Navy SEAL, extensive combat history. Our priority is public safety. The room buzzed. Fingers clattered against keyboards, the headline practically writing itself. Decorated soldier turns cop shooter. Behind the cameras, Lopez leaned toward Breen and muttered, See? Already bought. At Terrence's apartment, Marcus sat stiff on the couch, blood seeping through a fresh bandage. The TV blared with the press conference. His own face filled the screen, his Navy portrait, medals glinting under studio light. Former SEAL Marcus Hale suspected of firing at police. Marcus shut his eyes. They've decided already. Terrence slammed the remote down. They're spinning you into a monster. PTSD, violent tendencies. Watch. That's the playbook. As if on cue, the commentator's voice rang out. Sources suggest Hale may have struggled with reintegration after combat deployments. Marcus's stomach knotted. They're rewriting me in real time. Meanwhile, in a union office across town, police union rep Carla Denton poured bourbon into a paper cup, watching the broadcast replay. Good. That's exactly the angle, she said. Military guy, hair-trigger, dangerous. Jury will eat it up. Breen smirked, lighting a cigarette. Doesn't matter what really happened. Public wants villains. We gave them one. Lopez added, and if some body cam shows the truth, Carla waved dismissively. We've got chain of custody. We decide what gets released. Cameras only matter if we let them. They all laughed. Smoke curling into the dim ceiling light. At a small diner on the city's east side, journalist Dana Kim hunched over her laptop. Headphones in, replaying the press conference, her brow furrowed. The story smelled wrong. Her source, a clerk inside the precinct, had already texted her, check the unedited body cam before they bury it. She typed notes furiously. Hale didn't shoot first? Narrative shifting too clean, too fast. Need direct witness. But finding Marcus Hale was dangerous, for her and for him. Back in Terrence's apartment, Marcus paced, shoulder throbbing. His voice was a low growl. They'll hunt me harder now. Every cop in the city's gonna want my head. They framed me as a soldier turned rogue, so I'm fair game. Terrence leaned forward, elbows on knees. Then don't play their game. Make your own move. You know, tactics. Think like a SEAL, not like a fugitive. Marcus stopped pacing, breathing heavy. The rain outside had slowed, leaving the world eerily quiet. He thought of every mission briefing he'd ever endured. Objectives, counter-objectives, deception, survival. Now the battlefield wasn't overseas. It was here, in his own streets. That night, another news cycle hammered the same line. Police fear decorated veterans snapped under stress. City urged to remain vigilant. On screen, Daniels repeated the word dangerous 3 times. Breen and Lopez stood beside him like sentinels. Marcus muttered at the screen, "They'll make me either dead or guilty." Nothing else. Terrence looked at him hard. Then give them something they don't expect. Marcus's eyes lifted. His jaw set like stone. Then we start breaking their machine. The house smelled faintly of cornbread and old wood polish, the same way it had when Marcus was a boy sneaking in after curfew. Now as he slipped through the back door with Terrence's help, his body sagged against the frame. The wound throbbed. But it wasn't the pain that made his chest tighten. It was the look on his mother's face when she saw him. Marcus. Her voice cracked. Her hands trembled, reaching but not quite touching. "Lord, what did they do to you?" Marcus lowered himself into the worn kitchen chair, rain dripping from his jacket. His mother pressed a towel to his forehead as if that could mend everything. "They shot me," Marcus said simply. His voice was flat, stripped bare. Across the room, his younger brother Darius paced like a caged animal. "And now they got the whole city thinking you're some kind of lunatic vet gone rogue." "It's everywhere, Marcus. They're calling you dangerous." Marcus clenched his jaw. "That's the point," his mother's eyes filled. "All you did was serve this country. All you did was protect. And this is what you get." Later in the dim living room, the TV droned on. The press replayed the chief's statement for the 3rd time that hour. Marcus sat hunched, every word another blade. Darius snapped the remote off. "You can't just hide here. You've got to tell your side. You've got to speak before they bury you alive." Marcus looked up sharply. "Speak to who? The same media already calling me a monster? The same cops who want me dead? You think staying silent saves you?" Darius shot back. His eyes burned with the kind of anger only youth carried. "They'll drag your name through the dirt until there's nothing left. And you'll let them." Marcus's hands curled into fists. "You think I don't want to fight? You think I don't wake up hearing those shots, knowing they'll come again? But one wrong move, one word out of place, and they'll paint me worse than I already am." Darius stepped closer, defiant. "Maybe that's true. But if you don't fight for yourself, they'll write your story for you. And we both know how it ends." Silence pressed down. Heavy as the rain outside, their mother re-entered, holding a faded photograph. Marcus in his dress whites the day he graduated Bud S. She placed it gently in front of him. "I remember that day," she whispered. "The pride. The way the neighbors came out to watch you walk in that uniform. You stood taller than anyone. Now look at what they're doing. Trying to break you down into nothing." Marcus's throat closed. He traced the photo's edge with his good hand. His mother leaned close. "Don't let them take your story, baby. Don't let them make you less than what you are." Headlights flared suddenly across the thin curtains. An engine idled, doors slammed. The air in the room changed, taut with dread. Darius froze, eyes darting to Marcus. "They're here." Marcus's body went rigid. He could hear the crunch of boots on gravel, the faint metallic click of radios. Terrence at the window hissed, "2 cruisers. Maybe more around back." Marcus rose, ignoring the fire in his shoulder. He grabbed the pistol Terrence had brought. His mother gripped his wrist. "Don't you do it," she begged, voice shaking. "Don't you give them what they want." Outside, a bullhorn crackled. Marcus Hale. "This is the police. Come out with your hands up." The house fell into silence. Marcus's chest heaved, his mind racing through options like a combat simulation. Fight, run, or surrender into their waiting teeth. Darius's hand clamped his shoulder. "Don't you dare walk out there and let them kill you in the dirt like a dog." His mother's eyes, wet with terror, begged the opposite. Outside, the voice barked again. You've got 60 seconds. Marcus gripped the pistol tighter, torn between blood and duty, fear and fury. The walls of his childhood home seemed to close in, the floorboards creaking with every heartbeat. He had seconds to decide. The floodlights bathed the house in a white glare, erasing every shadow. The bullhorn's bark rattled the windows. Marcus Hale! Exit the house now. Hands visible. No sudden moves. Inside, the air was thick with fear. His mother clutched the edge of the couch, whispering a prayer. Darius's jaw was set tight, eyes darting to the back door. Terrence crouched low by the window, peering out through the slit in the curtains. They're not here to arrest you, Terrence muttered. This is a kill box. Marcus's gaze swept the room. 2 exits blocked. No cover beyond the yard. Too many rifles in the dark. His SEAL training screamed in his head, this is an ambush. Controlled narrative. Controlled kill. The bullhorn roared again. Come out now or we enter. Marcus's mother shook her head furiously. Don't go, baby. Don't you give them the excuse. Darius snapped back, voice rising. And if he stays, they'll come in shooting anyway. The sound of boots shifted outside, measured, deliberate. They were stacking at the door. Marcus pulled the pistol from his waistband, weighing its cold metal. He wasn't thinking about victory. He was thinking about survival, about buying enough time to not die branded as a monster. Terrence hissed, back door. I'll draw their eyes to the front. No, Marcus said, voice flat. His mind was already mapping the angles, distances, firing lanes. His training hadn't abandoned him. It was alive in his veins. The battering ram slammed against the front door. Wood cracked, splinters rained. His mother screamed, go! Terrence shoved Marcus toward the kitchen. They want you. I'll hold them off. Marcus grabbed his arm. You'll get killed. Terrence's eyes burned with something fierce, something loyal. I've patched you up on 2 continents. I'm not letting them end you in your mama's living room. The second slam hit harder, the door buckling. Marcus spun toward Darius. Get her out back, stay low. Don't stop. His brother nodded, pulling their mother toward the back hallway as her sobs tore through the noise. The door exploded inward. Officers stormed in, rifles raised, lasers cutting the dim air. Down. Everybody down. Terrence fired once, a deafening crack that sent the officers scattering. Shouts erupted, boots stomping, glass shattering as rounds tore into walls. Marcus bolted through the kitchen, shoulders screaming with each step. He could hear his mother's cries fading toward the back door, Darius urging her on. Bullets chewed through plaster. A voice roared, Hale is armed. Take him down. Marcus hit the back porch, rain soaking his face, and fired 2 controlled rounds high into the air. Not at flesh, but at floodlights. Sparks burst, shadows opening in the chaos. He darted into the yard, slipping into the black of the tree line. Behind him, the trap tightened. Inside, an officer dragged Terrence down, wrenching the gun from his grip. They beat him hard, voices spitting venom. Where is he? Breen shouted. His fist cracked across Terrence's face. Terrence coughed blood, grinning through swollen lips. Not where you'll find him. Lopez kicked him in the ribs, but Marcus was already gone. Marcus sprinted through mud and brush, each step agony. Branches whipped his face, his wounded shoulder pulsed, but his mind stayed cold, calculating. He counted shots, distances, the echo of radio chatter behind him. They'd flood the woods, grid search, but he was SEAL trained and they weren't. He dropped low, belly in the mud, breath slow. He heard them sweep past, flashlights bobbing. Their boots thundered, their voices called, perimeter tightening. He won't get far. Marcus lay still, rain dripping from leaves onto his cheek. He thought of his mother's face, her voice breaking as she begged him not to go. He thought of Terrence, beaten, buying him time. And then he thought of the word they kept repeating, dangerous. He whispered it under his breath like a curse. I'll show them dangerous. By dawn, the house was gutted. Windows shattered, walls riddled. Reporters swarmed the street, cameras panning over yellow tape and bullet holes. The official statement hit the airwaves within the hour. Suspect Marcus Hale engaged officers with gunfire, escaped during the chaos. Armed and dangerous. Citizens urged to remain vigilant. What they didn't mention, the witnesses who saw floodlights, the neighbors who heard gunfire before Marcus fled, the man bleeding on the floor in handcuffs for daring to protect him. The trap had been sprung, but Marcus was still alive, and survival meant the fight had only just begun. Marcus crouched in the dark shell of an abandoned warehouse. the cold biting into his skin through damp clothes. His shoulder burned, his chest ached with exhaustion, but his mind stayed razor sharp. He'd spent the night evading patrols, helicopters sweeping low with searchlights like prison beams across the city's edge. By morning, the city was drenched with headlines: Navy SEAL on the run, armed and dangerous fugitive, officers under fire, veteran escapes. The spin was airtight. But Marcus knew there were cracks. Somewhere, truth had to bleed through. Terrence's voice echoed in his head. You can't win by hiding. You break their story before it breaks you. So he made the call. The burner phone rang twice before Dana Kim answered. Her voice was low, careful. Who is this? Marcus's throat was dry. You've been covering the story. A pause. He could almost hear her pulse through the line. Marcus Hale? Yes, her breath hitched. Where are you? Not important. What matters is the truth. They shot first. They're lying. You know it. Dana's tone hardened. I know what they're saying doesn't add up. But without proof, you're just a headline. I have proof, Marcus said, forcing strength into his voice. Your source inside the precinct. The body cam. Get it. Before they bury it, Dana hesitated. If you're caught, they'll kill me. Marcus cut her off. That's the plan. So don't waste time worrying about me. Get the truth out. Silence. Then her voice returned, sharp, resolute. Meet me. Tonight. Neutral ground. That evening, Marcus slipped into the back of a shuttered church. Candlelight flickered against stained glass. Long shadows crossing the pews. Dana entered cautiously, clutching a leather satchel, her eyes darting toward every corner. He stepped out of the shadows, his movements deliberate. God, she whispered. You really did it. You're alive. Marcus didn't smile. Alive for now. Dana slid the satchel onto the pew between them. Inside, a hard drive, a flash drive, scattered papers. This came from my source. It's rough, no chain of custody, but it's real. Marcus inserted the drive into Terrence's battered old laptop. The grainy footage loaded. Rain, headlights, officers' voices. Then the moment. Breen's flashlight. The demand. Marcus's hands raised. And the muzzle flash. Breen's shot first, unprovoked. Marcus's jaw tightened. Watching himself stagger under that first hit felt like reliving the burn. Dana's voice was hushed but furious. This destroys their story. If this goes public, the whole city changes overnight. Marcus closed the laptop slowly. Then get it out. Don't wait. Don't edit raw. Let people see what they tried to erase. Dana studied him. You understand what happens if you become the face of this? You stop being a man. You become a symbol. They'll crucify you in every way they can. Marcus met her eyes, steel in his tone. I didn't survive war just to be executed in silence at home. Do it. Back at the precinct, Breen slammed his fist on the desk as Mills dropped the report. How the hell did it leak? Lopez sneered. Doesn't matter, we spin it. Say it's doctored, AI, fake footage. People will believe what we tell them. The union rep leaned forward, voice sharp. Not if it goes viral first. If it spreads raw, uncontrolled, that tape eats us alive? Daniels muttered. Then we shut it down. Find Hale, find the reporter. Shut it down before it hits broadcast. At dawn, Marcus stood at the edge of the church steps, the city below waking to the first glimmers of light. He could already imagine the footage in circulation. Phones buzzing, screens lit, voices raised. For the first time since the stop, a strange weight lifted. The machine wasn't invincible. Dana appeared beside him, phone pressed to her ear. It's done. Uploaded to 3 platforms. Mirrored across a dozen accounts. Even if they yank it down, it's already spreading. Marcus exhaled, a long, ragged breath. Then the distant wail of sirens cut the morning air. Dana's eyes widened. They're coming. Marcus squared his shoulders, pain radiating down his arm but resolve locking into place. Good, he said. Let them come. The silence is already broken. By sunrise, the footage was everywhere. Marcus's face filled phone screens, television broadcasts, and news tickers rolling in endless loops. The shaky video replayed on repeat. Officers shouting, hands raised, the muzzle flash that tore through the night. It spread faster than any press release the department could write. Faster than the anchors could keep up. In a cramped newsroom, Dana Kim sat in front of a bank of monitors. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Calls from networks, independent outlets, even international reporters. She ignored most. Instead, she watched the footage climb in real time. Millions of views, thousands of comments, streets already buzzing with anger. A producer leaned over her shoulder. "You realize what you've done? You didn't just leak a clip. You just lit the fuse." Dana's voice was steady. "No, Marcus Hale lit it. I just refused to blow it out." At the White House, aides crowded around a television. The press secretary's jaw tightened. "This is about to explode. We're getting calls from governors. Civil rights groups are already staging demonstrations. And the Pentagon is pissed. They don't like seeing a decorated veteran branded a fugitive on live television." The chief of staff muttered, "We need containment. Distance ourselves from the precinct, but not alienate law enforcement. And whatever you do, keep this Hale guy off the air. If he speaks, we lose the narrative." Meanwhile, Marcus hid in the narrow crawl space beneath an abandoned row house. Terrence crouched beside him, the glow of a burner phone illuminating his scarred face. "Look at this," Terrence said, scrolling through the feed. "They're marching already. Philly, Atlanta, Chicago. People holding signs with your name on it. You're trending worldwide." Marcus shifted against the wall, his body throbbing with fatigue. "I'm not a movement. I'm a man who got shot at a traffic stop," Terrence snorted. "Doesn't matter. You don't choose to be a symbol. They choose for you. And once they do, you either ride it or you get crushed under it." Marcus stared at the floor, the weight of Terrence's words pressing down. Back at the precinct, Captain Breen barked at the task force. "Every news cycle this tape stays alive, the harder it gets to bury. Find Hale, find the reporter. If he goes live on camera, we're finished." Detective Lopez leaned back, smirking. "What if we flip it? Make him the villain. Say he doctored the footage himself. Say he's unstable, violent, paranoid," Mills added. "Push his military record, PTSD, shell shock. Guy's a ticking bomb who snapped." Breen's eyes narrowed. "Do it, leak it to friendly outlets. Make the country afraid of him before they start worshipping him." By noon, the counteroffensive was underway. Headlines appeared on major networks. Was the footage altered? Questions around fugitives' mental health. Decorated soldier or dangerous threat? Anchors debated in polished tones. Experts dissected Marcus's body language, pausing frames, circling his expression as though truth could be reduced to pixels. One commentator smirked at the camera. "This isn't a civil rights issue. This is about a man who can't separate his trauma from reality." But outside, reality couldn't be contained. Crowds swelled in the streets, chanting, marching, blocking intersections. Signs bore Marcus's name beside words like justice and truth. Others simply showed the freeze frame of Breen's gun firing with captions like, "Wu fired first." For every talking head on TV, there were 1,000 voices in the streets. Marcus listened to the chants faintly echoing through the city, carried even to the boarded row house where he hid. His chest ached with something he couldn't name, part disbelief, part guilt, part burning clarity. Terrence sat across from him, chewing on a toothpick. "You hear that? That's power. That's people realizing they're not crazy, that the system lies straight to their face. And you," he jabbed a finger at Marcus, "you're the crack in the dam." Marcus's voice was low, conflicted. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want to be a crack. I just wanted to survive the night." Terrence shrugged. "Nobody asks. But you can't crawl back into silence now. They'll make sure you never get the chance." At a downtown press conference, the mayor stood stiff behind a podium. Cameras flashed. "We take the footage very seriously," she said, reading carefully from the teleprompter. "An independent investigation will be launched. But let me be clear. Violence, looting, and unrest will not be tolerated in our city." Reporters shouted over each other.
"What about Marcus Hale?"
"Is he considered a suspect or a victim?" The mayor's smile was brittle. "At this time, Mr. Hale remains wanted for questioning in connection with the incident. Our first priority is public safety. Translation, still a fugitive." That night, Dana broadcast live from an undisclosed location. Her voice carried the sharp edge of defiance. "They want you to believe the footage is fake. They want you to believe Marcus Hale is unstable. But the truth is simple. The tape is real, the bullet holes in his body are real, and the silence they demanded is broken." Her words cut through the noise. The stream went viral instantly. Marcus lay in the shadows of the row house, Dana's voice faint through Terrence's phone speaker. For the first time in days, he closed his eyes, not in despair, but in a fragile kind of peace. Because somewhere beyond the fear, beyond the hunt, beyond the smear campaigns, the truth was out. and it was too loud to be buried. But in the glass towers above the city, men in suits convened in quiet rooms away from cameras. One of them leaned forward, his voice like steel. This doesn't end with marches. It ends when Hale is neutralized quietly, permanently. The others nodded. The city burned with voices by morning. Entire boulevards were locked down. Crowds pressed shoulder to shoulder, chants echoing off glass towers. Justice for Hale rolled like thunder, shaking foundations meant to keep order. Barricades buckled. Officers lined in riot gear, faces hidden, shields raised. The footage had cracked something that could not be taped back together. In the command center, Captain Breen slammed his fist on the table. Screens showed marches across states, Atlanta, D.C., Los Angeles, even foreign capitals. His voice rattled the glass. This was supposed to be a local incident. Now it's international. Every hour we don't shut this down, our department bleeds authority. Detective Mills lit a cigarette, ignoring the no-smoking sign. Authorities already bled out. The mayor's hiding, the governor's begging Washington for troops, and every talking head is replaying that damn tape. Our only option is decisive force, Lopez added coldly. Or we cut the head off the snake. Hale dies, movement dies with him. Breen's jaw tightened. Find him before the feds do. We finish this tonight. Marcus sat hunched in the dark row house, his ribs still tender. Terrence shoved an old police scanner toward him. The static buzzed, then came words that froze Marcus in place. Suspect Hale believed to be in East Sector. All units converge. Authorization to use lethal force if resisted. Terrence spat. They're hunting you like an animal. No warrants, no due process. They want a body bag, not an arrest. Marcus leaned against the wall, chest heavy. If I keep running, they'll use it to justify more violence. If I turn myself in, I'm dead before the cuffs click. Dana's voice cut in. She had slipped through the barricades to reach him. Then we change the game. We go public, live, uncut, undeniable. You tell your story on camera, your way. If they kill you, then it's not just a cover-up. It's martyrdom. Marcus's eyes narrowed. You're asking me to put my neck on the block. Dana held his gaze. I'm asking you to take back the truth. That evening, a makeshift stage was erected on the courthouse steps. Protesters gathered in the thousands, phones aloft, live streams running. The police line bristled with shields and batons, a wall of silence and threat. Dana stood at the microphone, her voice trembling but unbroken. The world has seen the footage. The world has seen the lies. But tonight you'll hear from the man they tried to erase. Gasps rippled through the crowd as Marcus stepped forward. Hood up, face gaunt but unbowed, the spotlight cutting through the night to reveal him. He took the mic. I wore this country's uniform. I bled for it. I buried friends for it. And when I came home, I got treated like a suspect, a threat, a target because of my skin. His voice cracked, but he pressed on. They put guns to my head for a broken taillight. They pulled triggers before they asked questions. And when I lived, they tried to bury the truth. But I'm standing here, and I'm not afraid to say it. They fired first. The crowd erupted, a wave of sound that drowned out the sirens. Up in the command center, Breen barked, "Cut the feed! Now?" Technicians scrambled, but it was too late. The live stream had already fractured across platforms, mirrored, downloaded, unstoppable. The mayor's aides whispered furiously behind closed doors. The governor's line buzzed with threats from Washington. The system that had always closed ranks suddenly found itself pierced, leaking credibility faster than it could be patched. On the courthouse steps, the air thickened. Riot police advanced, shields locking. Someone fired a tear gas canister. Screams broke out. Chaos. Marcus raised his hands, his voice raw. Stay calm. Don't give them the excuse. But the line cracked. Officers shoved forward, batons swinging. Protesters shoved back. A brick shattered against a shield. The fragile piece snapped like a dry twig. Dana grabbed Marcus's arm. We need to move, now. Terrence shoved through the crowd, pulling them into an alley as gas clouds rolled. Behind them, the chants didn't die. They grew louder, angrier, sharper. The next morning, headlines painted two worlds. 1. Violent riots threaten city order. 2. Veteran speaks truth. Sparks movement, the divide was complete. The department's version faltered against raw video flooding the internet. Clips of officers firing first, clips of peaceful protesters beaten, clips of Marcus speaking with broken honesty. The spin machine sputtered. In Washington, hearings were called. Senators demanded answers. Civil rights leaders demanded resignations. Foreign outlets mocked American democracy. The Attorney General's voice carried grave weight on live television. The Department of Justice will be opening a federal investigation into the actions of the precinct. Back in the precinct, Breen stared at the announcement in silence. For the first time, his hands trembled. Lopez swore under his breath. Mills crushed his cigarette against the wall. "This isn't a probe," Breen muttered. "It's a death sentence." "They're gonna peel us apart piece by piece," no one replied. The silence was heavier than any verdict. Marcus sat in a safe house watching the announcement with Dana and Terrence. His face was hollow, but his eyes burned. "It's not justice yet," he said quietly, "but it's a crack." And cracks spread, Dana nodded. And once a wall starts falling, it doesn't stop halfway. That night, helicopters circled the city, their searchlights sweeping empty streets. But in boardrooms and command posts, the collapse had already begun. The system that prided itself on silence, unity, and control had been dragged into daylight. And daylight corrodes what cannot survive scrutiny. For the first time, Marcus felt the tide turning, not toward victory, but toward something irreversible. And in the silence after the sirens, he realized collapse was louder than any gunshot. The courthouse smelled of sweat and ozone. Television trucks lined the street, cables snaking like veins across the pavement. National Guardsmen stood uneasily beside local officers, their uniforms a patchwork of authority. Protesters filled the square, some silent, fists raised, others chanting Marcus's name, banners fluttering in the wind. Inside, the air was colder, heavier. Cameras weren't allowed, but everyone knew the world was watching. Marcus sat at the defense table, a suit borrowed from Terrence's cousin hanging stiff on his shoulders. His ribs still ached, but the bruises had begun to fade. Dana sat behind him, pad of notes on her lap, her jaw set. Terrence leaned against the back wall, arms crossed, eyes never leaving the uniformed men across the aisle. At the prosecution's table sat Captain Breen, flanked by Mills and Lopez. Their faces were taut, practiced masks. They'd denied everything, claimed Marcus had fired first, claimed the footage was doctored, claimed he was dangerous. But the footage had gone too far, spread too wide. Their words felt brittle, ready to snap under weight. The judge's gavel struck once. "Proceed," the prosecutor began, his voice steady but thin. "This case is not about race. It is not about politics. It is about a man who endangered officers and escalated a lawful traffic stop into violence." Whispers hissed through the gallery. Dana scribbled furiously. Terrence's jaw tightened. Then the defense attorney rose. "Your Honor, the tape does not lie." The screen flickered. The room filled with the grainy video everyone had already seen. But here, in the silence of the courtroom, it was different. The gunshots echoed off wood-paneled walls. The flash lit up Breen's face in frozen clarity, and Marcus's voice, ragged, terrified, broke the hush. "Don't shoot." "My hands are up." A woman in the gallery stifled a sob. The tape stopped. Silence stretched until it hurt. Cross-examinations followed. Breen's confidence cracked under direct questions. "Did you or did you not fire before Mr. Hale moved?" "I perceived a threat." "Answer the question. Did you fire first?" His silence was louder than any admission. Mills fared worse. His lies tangled on themselves, undone by timestamps and radio logs. Lopez tried charm, but his smirk collapsed when confronted with text messages retrieved from his phone. Jokes about putting down another threat. The courtroom shifted. The weight of authority was no longer on their side. During recess, Marcus leaned against the wall outside the courtroom, sweat dampening his collar. Dana touched his arm. "They're cornered." "You can see it." Marcus's eyes were distant. "Cornered animals bite," Terrence muttered. "Let them bite. The whole country's watching now. Every snap of their teeth just proves your case." Marcus didn't reply. His heart thudded heavy, not from fear, but from the enormity of it. He hadn't asked for this. He hadn't wanted to become a symbol. But symbols had no escape routes. The final day of testimony arrived. The defense called Marcus. He walked slowly to the stand. Every eye followed him. His voice was steady, though his hands trembled. "I served this country for 12 years. Navy SEAL, deployed 5 times. I came home to be treated like my skin made me a threat in my own neighborhood. I didn't fire first that night, they did. I just wanted to live long enough to make it home. That's all." The silence that followed was absolute. Closing arguments rang hollow from the prosecution. The defense's words, however, landed like hammer blows. This is not just about Marcus Hale. This is about whether truth matters more than power. Whether a uniform excuses a trigger, whether justice bends to a badge or stands for the people it swore to protect. The jury left. Hours dragged. Outside, chants rose and fell like tides. Then, verdict.